The BG60 is an affordable alternative in the Brown's gas marketplace. It has higher gas output, it has a quality generator with superior engineering, creates gas, and you can infuse your drinking water. Anyone can benefit regardless of current health. You can combine it with other treatments. It will not interact with your meds or other therapies. It will only enhance, and there are no contraindications. Today we'll be reviewing the BG60 Brown's gas generator, but first some research on Brown's gas. Hydrogen acts as a therapeutic antioxidant by selectively reducing cytotoxic oxygen radicals. Molecular hydrogen improves obesity and diabetes by inducing the hepatic FDF21 or hepatic signal and stimulating energy metabolism in mice modeled for phase 1 to 3 of diabetes, type 2, and obesity. A new approach for the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disorders, molecular hydrogen significantly reduces the effects of oxidative stress. Consumption of water containing a high concentration of molecular hydrogen reduces oxidative stress and disease activity in patients with rheumatoid arthritis, an open-label pilot study. Anti-inflammatory properties of molecular hydrogen. Investigation on parasite-induced liver inflammation. Hydrogen improves glycemic control in type 1 diabetic animal model by promoting glucose uptake into skeletal muscle. Supplementation of hydrogen-rich water improves lipid and glucose metabolism in patients with type 2 diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. Molecular hydrogen suppresses Fc epsilon Ri mediated signal transduction and prevents degranulation of mast cells. Neutral pH hydrogen-enriched electrolyzed water achieves tumor preferential clonal growth inhibition over normal cells and tumor invasion inhibition concurrently with intracellular oxidant repression. Platinum nanocolloid supplemented hydrogen-dissolved water inhibits growth of human tongue carcinoma cells preferentially over normal cells. Hydrogen-rich saline reduces cell death through inhibition of DNA oxidative stress and overactivation of polymerase I in retinal ischemia reperfusion injury. Molecular hydrogen reduces LPS-induced neuroinflammation and promotes recovery from sickness behavior in mice. Thank you for joining me today. We haven't done a Shake Talk in quite some time. Today, I'm very excited to share some new technology that I am doing my homework on. Technology, I'm going to simply say Brown's gas. I'm here joined today with Andrew and with Ed. If you guys could just give me a very brief who you are and why I love you so much. I would appreciate you telling me why you're joining me today. Ed?
Oh, we love you too, Debbie, of course. My name's Ed, and I've been involved in health since I can remember. Health researcher for a long time. I have no degrees. I've got a software engineering degree, but nothing on the health side, but just an avid researcher and health hacker. I came across this probably, at least 10, 15 years ago. Didn't really look into it really closely until it started getting a little more traction about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. Started hearing some good things, and then burst on the scene in 2005 to 2007 was a study that proved without any doubts that hydrogen is very powerful for the body. Jumped into this with both feet because I saw what was happening with some people that I was introducing the technology to, and just said this has to get out there for people. So I've been working with this technology and bringing this technology forward since about 2016. And, we've been selling these machines now for quite a long time with very, very great feedback and great results with everyone who's ever used one. So looking forward to helping anyone that you know.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I will, in the comments, once I get the recording of today's visit up, I'll put contact information for both of you. So just let me know what you want that to be. You know, I don't know if
Okay.
it's a website or, you know, because,
Alrighty.
you know, not everybody wants to talk to me. You know, a new product, very off tangent from what I've traditionally been talking about. So why is your machine slightly different than other hydrogen machines on the market? You know,
Well,
why is yours better?
yeah. Why is it better? Why is it better? Because
Yeah,
we do not.
comparing Brown's gas, let's say, to many of the hydrogen options out there.
We have testimonials that have moved conditions and illnesses that hydrogen has been shown in studies not to change.
And a lot of the research, because I was looking into this the last couple of days in prep for our visit, a lot of the research, there's certainly a healthy amount of it, but it's older. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this the whole research took off after 2007.
Yes.
In 2005, I was just explaining this to someone the other day. In 2005, two doctors in Japan decided to take a look at this in depth in a lab. They've been hearing all these miraculous stories about these generators and people using it for health and having all kinds of wonderful things happen to them. And so just to be clear, what we're talking about, these generators are similar to the generator we are selling, the Brown's gas generator. There were no hydrogen-only generators outside of labs. There was no hydrogen for a health market. So what they have to do when they're trying to study something, they need to say, okay, there's one input. What are we getting on the other side, right? One input, what's the output? The mixed gas that we're producing, the Brown's gas has H2, O, and O2. So it's got singlet hydrogen and singlet oxygen. Now, singlet oxygen is a whole different conversation. They're seeing all kinds of wonderful stuff with that in itself. But you have three different gases than what you want to study, which is the molecular hydrogen. So they basically cleared the table of any other inputs and put it just hydrogen. We add hydrogen, what happens, right? So I get it. From their perspective, they had to do that. So the studies took off after that time. 2007 was when they published their study and their findings that said, yes, this absolutely is something crazy. There's something here. It's a selective antioxidant, meaning hydrogen peroxide in the cell is a cell signaling and also part of the immune system. Hydrogen peroxide is technically a free radical. So you marry ascorbic acid, which most people call vitamin C.
Yep.
It's one part of vitamin C. You put that against a molecule of hydrogen peroxide, it's going to destroy it. And it doesn't care if that puts the cell out of balance, which it will do. Yep. So hydrogen, if you have a fully working cell, you put hydrogen on the cell, nothing changes. The hydrogen floats right through and doesn't get consumed. And that just shocked them. And they still, to this day, do not know the mechanism that it uses. Now, from my perspective, it's an energetic thing. The body is energy. The body is charge and energy. And everything, even at cellular level, is complete energy and the exchange of energy. So if you have an energy state that's homeostatic, that's in homeostasis, why would you want anything to bother that if you're the body? And so somehow there's a communication between the energy of the cell and the energy of hydrogen, and nothing changes. And it's a beautiful thing. So on to the next cell where there is some dysfunction. And so it also acts as, so it balances oxidation stress. It never removes essential. And from your perspective in the industry that you're in, where you're more kind of fitness oriented, that is supremely important because there's something called hormesis, or the hormetic effect, which is the elevated oxidation state of the body, the oxidation stress state of the body that the body responds to and becomes stronger, more efficient, whatever it has to do. Hydrogen miraculously doesn't blunt that. It does not interfere with that. Yeah. So there's another very powerful evidence that there's something energetic outside of, it's not just chemistry, right? And so again, the same way with the oxidation stress, where it balances it and leaves essential, it does that with inflammation. Humans are notorious for overcompensating when they get an injury, and the body just goes ow, 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 and inflammation goes through the roof. And that's where all the pain comes from. So a lot of times with people who take hydrogen and ingest it, either drinking water, direct application, or inhalation, the inflammation, the excess inflammation will be removed. The hydrogen can determine what's essential so the healing process can continue, and it leaves that alone. It just doesn't touch that. And again, it balances that the inflammation, and leaves everything in the state that the body wants for the body to move forward. And then the last thing it's really good at is balancing the immune system and promoting the immune system function. So they've seen that it can raise immune system function as well. So all those three things are the primary mechanisms. There's other things like drinking the water when it's absorbed through the stomach. This would help people with weight issues. It balances blood sugar. So diabetics usually get a very good reaction with that, and their blood sugar gets under control, sometimes to the point where they can stop taking their medication. So it's a very powerful modality for the body. The base technology is sound.
Okay.
The power supply, the generator, the cooling system, the way that the case is designed, and the controls are all fine. The things that are not fine are what happens after you deliver the gas. You had asked about sodium hydroxide. Why that? It's a it's actually food grade sodium hydroxide. For those who think that sodium hydroxide is a poison, it's actually used in pretzels and bagels and lots of other foods.
Yeah.
So it's not a poison. Anything can be a poison. You eat enough salt, you'll die. Drink enough water, you'll die.
Yeah.
So yes, that is where primarily we're concerned about controlling anything that could escape from the generator and cleansing it deeply. The machines on the market that are 99% hydrogen, or 99% pure oxygen or hydrogen, they use a technology called PEM or SPE, protonic change membrane, semi-permeable electrolysis type of thing. And what they do is they actually they've got two electrodes that press up against a central membrane. Okay. And that membrane has electrolyte in it. So those machines are not electrolyte free. Everything needs an electrolyte because you've got two electrodes that cannot touch each other. The water is in between them. And that's what breaks them apart. The oxygen goes to one side electrode, the hydrogen goes to the other side electrode, and it splits the water apart. So that's all electrolysis. That's 100% of the machines that are on the market. It's just that they differ in the way that they generate the gas. We prefer the immersed cell technology that has a clear view between the electrodes, because that's the only technology that creates the Brown's gas, which has been shown to be much more powerful than hydrogen alone, especially for lots of conditions. So that's what we are producing there. So the basic chassis is okay. It's very well designed and very resilient, and should last for years. And that's what we were concerned about when we did it. So all of our modifications are to make that easier to read, to be very safe for inhalation or any way else you want to use that for your health purposes. And we've succeeded with that very well. So that's what we've done to the machine. And that allows us to provide a good technology at a very reasonable price for people.
Here, there really are no contraindications that I've been able, there's really no one that can't use this type of technology. Am I correct in seeing that?
Yes, they've not found any contraindications or drug interaction type things. And here's the reason. Thank you for bringing that up. The reason is, if they were to test your breath right now, or any of your viewers' breath right now, whether you've been exposed to hydrogen or not, you would have hydrogen in your breath right now.
Yes.
And the reason is it exists in your gut because the bacteria excrete it in their normal process of living. So it is something, it is not novel to the body. It's not a new thing going into the body. The body knows exactly what it is and exactly how to use it. It just doesn't have enough of it. And definitely with the state of the microbiome in the human gut right now, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
So you're definitely not getting anywhere near the amount. But yeah, it's not, it's there. That's why there's no contraindications or drug interactions or anything else, because everything they've already tested with that already has that in the mix because it's already present in the body.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you. Because now that if, this is the great thing about these Q&As, you say something and then it,
exactly.
For me, what I would suggest, most of the tech, and I work with everything and anything out there, but there's the body has what I refer to as a rate of change or an adaptability to any new intervention. And the fact that this is, homegrown and known to our bodies, there's also in that same logic, really not any overdoing. For me, with some of the exercise stuff, some of the recovery stuff, the dosage, as I refer to it, how long, how often, what type of position. And with something like this, part of what I would refer to it as being safe is the fact that it isn't a new intervention that the body needs to adapt to. My experience, which is minimal, long story short, I have one of these machines that I normally would vet and play with, but it's up at my stepmom's, who is diabetic and dealing with a number of concerns. So she's been using it for about her 4th day now. And really the only feedback I have would be that she's tired. The fatigue is a little bit more prominent. But that's not uncommon when the body's going through a whole process of healing. When you sleep, that's when your body puts all that work in action. And I would say it's not uncommon. Andrew was good enough to answer my questions yesterday on that. But I would say, as far as side effects, that's really the only thing I've personally also experienced. Is there any
let me interject one thing.
Sure.
Imagine a person who doesn't drink water in the desert for 3 days, and then the old story, he gulps a bunch of water.
Yeah.
The cells are so starving for this therapy. There isn't a short period of acclimation where the body's like, wow, I'm finally getting what I need.
Yeah.
And there's a transformational healing period. So there is, based on, from individual to individual, vary. We recommend a break-in period, and each person's different. You might do a half hour, a couple times a day the first day. You check the waters, as with every other therapy. The difference in this therapy, that the acclimation period is pretty quick. Ozone has it, everything, like you said, even the vibration machine. So this one does have it, but once the body knows it can get this and it reaches a certain equilibrium, you pretty much, at that point, we recommend, especially if you're chronically challenged, doing long periods of time and really just flooding the body with this gas. But it's that initial break-in.
Makes sense.
One thing I'd like to add to that is there is no unsafe limit to it. So we have taken this technology to, before I go there, let's rewind 1 second.
Sure.
Back to the exhaustion or the tiredness. My wife, when she was first exposed, said, Ed, you can't sell this machine. I feel like I'm on drugs. And she would go to sleep like within minutes of being on. She would feel like she needs to crawl into bed and go to sleep. 2 weeks later, she was begging for that to happen again. She's like you. She's very busy. She doesn't like sleep because she can't get stuff done while she's sleeping.
Not at all.
And so guess what's going to happen when Debbie starts doing some inhalation and gets some serious thing? The body's going to start calling for your arrest cycle, and it's going to call for intervention. Now that does, as Andrew said, it does stabilize after a short period of time. Same with energy, bursting energy. Bursting energy will also come to some people to the point where they won't even be able to get to sleep. If they do it like after 5 o'clock, it'll keep them up all night. As their cells and their mitochondria start to come awake or things like that. But that is a short-term effect. And it's not that it's going away. The body is adjusting to the plateau and the area that it should be existing on. So if your energy is low, it's going to raise. If it's too high or you're vibrating too fast, it's going to calm you down. It's basically going to calm and center the body. So it's going to do that automatically. However, As far as run-in periods, my experience with that has been, we took this to a man who was almost unresponsive. His wife, who was an MD, thought he'd be dead by the morning. This was about 10 o'clock, about noon of that day when I arrived, set up the machine, and we got him on it immediately, starting to breathe. And through the sheer vascularity of the nostril area, because he had the cannula in his nose, but most of the time was mouth breathing. But as you know, if you ever bumped your nose and blood starts coming out, you know how vascular it is. So it was actually being absorbed into his body through his nostrils. He started to turn pink. He was all ashen gray and very, he started to come around. He started to turn pink. He walked up the stairs. He slept with it all night that night. So by the time I left, he had already been on the machine 10 and a half hours straight. Okay. And this was someone at death's door and fully rejuvenated from this technology. So there is no unsafe upper limit. Some people can get a Herxheimer or wellness syndrome or healing crisis, whatever you want to call it. Some head pressure, some headache, something like that. If toxins, you were talking about detox, definitely is going to get the cells working. So healthy cells don't like toxins in them. It will start to dump them out. So, you know, if you start to get those things, you can either push through because they are usually very mild and keep going, or you can stop, let the body catch up. You know, it's all up to your preference of what comfort level you would like. Additionally, if you know you're toxic, you probably might want to take binders at the same time that would circulate through the body to grab the toxins that are going to be pushed out of the cells. But yeah, it's so it can be used as a run-in process, a slower process, or go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour as well, safely.
I think maybe what Andrew was referring to as well, and I do this with whether technology, the unit itself as a new device, like if you're starting with a new device, usually, you know, a bit of a break-in period with the unit itself. That's just, you know, anytime I start a show with a new vibration plate, I let it, you know, just cycle on a low speed for 5-10 minutes to make sure that there's not going to be any, but I would absolutely agree with that. You know, I've been in a situation with other clients in the past. And I mean, if you're that close, you know, the worst I'm going to do is over exercise you and you'll be a little sore the next day. But I think by far, you know, it speaks to, you know, not only how effective it is on the body, but how non-invasive it is. You know, that there's really, you know, the biggest risk I think with many technologies in today's world is, and thank you for raising it, is the intervention piece. You know, how's it going to interact with this? And I deal with a lot of conditions that are undiagnosed. You know, I might know what they are, or Andrew might have a clue, but, you know, it just adds to the hesitancy. Then you throw in technologies that the doctors don't understand. And, you know, whether it's Brown's gas or a vibration machine or saunas, you know, it's not a pharmaceutical. So that there's a different diligence that I recommend people take the approach to. You're not going to necessarily see billing codes for some of these things, but I will say a lot of what you've said, it's kind of logical. You know, once you kind of understand what it's producing, what elements are already, you know, existing or deficient in your body, it's kind of logical, if you will.
Well,
and
we
it's
left out one,
cumbersome to figure out how to use.
we left out one component, the plasma. We did the hydrogen and the oxygen, but we didn't discuss the.
Yeah, there's another element. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's another side of it that's a little more on the woo-woo side and esoteric side. They're still trying to figure that one out for sure. One of them is energized water vapor, which is some people call electrically expanded water. Molecule of water is centered with the hydrogen that comes off, oxygen with the hydrogen bonds that come off. Energized water, this would be John Ellis water, if you've ever heard of him. It actually pushes the bonds apart, which is the energetic state, the vibrational energetic state of the water is increased. So that's they've been able to identify that in this. And then the other thing, the plasma. So plasma is a gas and it's an electrical charged state. And one of the things that I saw that day with the 10.5 hours with that man next, on death's door, he was way beyond 1 foot in the grave and the other on the banana peel. He had basically both feet in, and he was about to go into the ground. But the rapid rejuvenation and the rapid changes that they've seen in people's health with this thing. Some people are postulating that there are free electrons in this gas, and they're not just postulating, they're actually observing that, but they haven't nailed it down completely. And so that's a big difference. So some other machines on the market will say, oh, Brown's gas, all you have to do is we make the hydrogen and the oxygen separately, and then we recombine them and then deliver them to you. That's not Brown's gas. Brown's gas is created in a different manner, in the manner that this machine makes them. And the PEM or SPE machines, the 99% hydrogen machines, do not make Brown's gas. Even if you recombine the hydrogen and oxygen, you just get hydrogen and oxygen recombined. And yes, it's more, it's better than lifeless hydrogen out of a bottle or lifeless oxygen out of a bottle. They're still energetic, but it's not the same as what's being delivered here. So the plasma that some people speak of is a real thing, and they're trying to get their arms around it. But as in most things of this world, we don't understand. I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day. We don't really understand water. They're still trying to figure out how water works. Gerald Pollack with 4-state water and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. So,
well, and a lot of people think of water as being 3 states, and then there are more than 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My husband should be on this call. This is his area of.
But anyway, so yeah, the net is that yes, it's a very powerful therapy, a very powerful modality. And on many levels. But I do tell people, I say, look, there's still nutrition involved. You still need to eat right. You still need to get your vitamins, minerals. Minerals are very important because vitamins can't even be absorbed without a proper mineral profile. And so, this isn't the end all be all. Some people like to call it vitamin H. I do not, because that implies a supplement or a nutrient. But it definitely is something that most people, especially nowadays, are very deficient in. And so a lot of the maladies that we have, one thing that it is, though, is it is corrective. So back to that energy state that we were talking about, whether you're sleepy or you're very energized by it, it's correcting the state in the body. So it's not palliative. It's not putting a rug over the pile of dirt that's there. It's actually going in and fixing the mechanisms that are not working correctly, and giving them a tune-up. And from that perspective, you're not going to regress back to your state pre-hydrogen for quite some time. I had given this to somebody who had rheumatoid arthritis in both hands. They had a trigger finger on one hand that would not move when they made a fist. 15 minutes in a baggie, just slip a baggie over their hand with the hose in it. 15 minutes later, their entire hand is moving and it's feeling lighter and opening up. And the reason is because it's going in and it's working on the hydroxyl radicals that are involved with the arthritis. It's cleaning that up. It goes into the cells. It starts cleaning up the mitochondria that are misusing either copper or iron in the body and creating those hydroxyl radicals. And so from that one day, we did 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon on each hand. And she didn't come back to me for 3.5 months asking if I could do that thing with her hands again. So again, it's not just a short-term effect. It actually goes in and starts really deeply correcting things, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again, Debbie. Yeah, keep up with that. And I think what you'll find is that tiredness will definitely go away.
Okay.
And enjoy it while it, make it a part of your bedtime routine and just drift off to sleep with it.
Well, if I get it back, we might be.
Right. Okay.
This is my first time at the rodeo with this.
Yeah. All right. That's quite all right.
Thanks for your time. Right. It flows better that way.
Hello, audience. I've been asking that question my whole life. All right.
So.
I am everything that I am not. Okay.
So who is Andrew and
everything that I am not is me.
But share.
I've been seeking my identity for my whole life. It's true. I met, by the way, I met Debbie through we have a very strong mutual interest in vibration therapy. So I have extensive background in body work. With everybody I encountered on the table, I was always backdooring to deep trauma. I learned body work as a really soul type of work. I have a lot of modalities that I could name. I have a website that shows my body work practice. But I became very fascinated going to deeper levels of healing. And before I did body work, I was doing extensive work with people with Crohn's disease, colitis, nutritional strategies. So I've studied holistic medicine on many levels, and I could pretty much converse with pretty much any practitioner because I understand Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, naturopathy. And what I try to do is keep a very open mind and look at all these aspects. So there's many dimensions, but I make no bones about it. In fact, my #1 video, I have a YouTube channel with over several hundred videos. And my #1 video, and this is where we met, is releasing emotional trauma with vibration therapy. Now, if the universe is saying, boom, we're going to make this the most important teaching, I would say that's not a bad. There's a God that picked it out and said, yes, vibration therapy, and I have a tremendous amount of teachings, is one of the most essential therapies for trauma. And I teach, I know I'd love to just briefly, I could show you a few, I have a trauma release program. I teach a lot of somatic skills. But when you deal, just one point I do want to make, because I start to see people get sick. A lot of it is trauma. What is trauma? Essentially, you can't resolve something, the body locks up. When the body locks up, it freezes the liver, it freezes the colon. And when that happens, it doesn't function properly. So I'm very fascinated with teaching people how to let go and find their true essential identity, which is much simpler and much more graceful than the complicated mental programming that screws the pooch on most of us. So this is a difficult time because we live in a culture which promotes struggle, stress, a lot of, get ahead. And just to survive, it's almost like you have to learn, you figuring out how do I not play the game but survive? So when I came across this therapy, and I'm going to frame it almost in simpler terms, I was seeking therapies. I saw that particularly when people get older or chronically ill, like I said, if you have a trauma where it's literally choking out an organ, the cells start to die. And now you can't even get to those cellular structures. So I understood that in some ways you had to go through the back door. You had to seep into even the toxic terrain that was starved out and permeated. And I was looking for therapies that literally would permeate very toxic terrains. Now, once again, I say trauma, if you understand it simply, it's like you're squeezing the shit out of yourself, excuse my English. And if it happens to be anger in Chinese medicine, it's like more liver issues. If it's grief, it's lung, colon. They associate different organ systems with different emotional states. But when you can't let go and relax, you're going to have some type of health issue depending on what's manifesting. They're all related. They all, if you have anger, you have grief. If you have grief, you have worry. So this therapy can go in when the cells get that compromised from the constant stress. And there's more, there's also environmental toxins. And I always say the environmental toxins were made by human mind. They weren't made by God. They were made by people who had screwed up thinking and thought, well, let's make this crap. And, it just so happens to hurt you. So you're really fighting consciousness all essentially, no matter where you go. Now, if that negative consciousness is a hydrogen bomb and it kills 1 million people, well, that's human made too. So what this therapy does is it goes in and it can get to the cells and, as Ed said, promote deep repair. It is a various hydrogen, everything's made from hydrogen. It's the primordial element of all things. He was saying it's an energetic action. I would say it's also an intelligence. If this is the one, that's the one element that creators said, okay, everything's gonna be made from this. The one intelligence behind it seems to be working. And in essence, this promotes the body's self-healing ability. I want to be clear, I was meditating and looking for therapies, and I have a list of some other ones that can get deep into the cell once the cell is screwed. Because once a cell is screwed, typically you take supplements, and you know this, you can take all the supplements in the world, and you are not going to be able to absorb them.
Yeah.
There's a gate on a toxic terrain, and you know, it goes in stages. It's half dead, fully dead. Now this section of the body dies off, this section dies off. So can you permeate the dead terrain and even the very troubled cells and then actually rejuvenate them? And that's the key action of this. It's a cellular therapy, incredibly permeable. And by the way, just to be clear, the hydrogen molecule is tiny, 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 so it'll go through steel. So it is literally, the permeability is one key action of this therapy. So this came out of just a backdrop. Again, I did a lot of body work, and, you know, I'd see like, oh my God, the fascia is just like, your tissue is completely like mud. It is not like a young baby's fascia. And I literally had that vision when I worked on a client. I want you to be like new again.
Yeah.
So how am I going to get to this connective tissue, which is a huge part in people struggling? The connective tissue was all gunked up. It was, you know, dried out. It was, you know, they say drink plenty of water. That wasn't doing it. So I was an expert in fascia. I definitely want to see people heal. The connective tissue goes everywhere in the body. It has a lot to do with carrying information and signaling. So this is truly a microcellular hydrating. It'll help these cells come back to life. And you need to do a lot. Once you break into this, you need to do a lot of gas, high volume gas, lots of hours, and then give it months and months and months for the healing to ensue.
In support with all the other things that we also talked about. You know, one thing is never everything. The it's going to make everything you've been trying to do more effective.
Right. In other words, well, problem with my teachings is by the time someone gets off the phone with me, they're like, clunk, too much. I can't handle it.
Me too.
So if you call me and let's say, look, toxicity, I have my whole website. And do you want to share screens of my websites?
I'll put some links so people can find the sites easily after. Yeah.
Okay. So my beluziwater.com, the whole theme of the store is a program for detoxification. So if your body is opportunistic and toxic, I teach very multi-dimensional program to, number one, redesign gut immunity, which is huge because gut immunity is where this all starts.
Yep.
It's 70% of the immune system. So if you have a bad septic tank, you're screwed. So you need to redesign your septic tank to where it mulches all the garbage. Then it's about handling the die-off, the detox, pulling the metals, the chemicals. Vibration therapy, we teach the vibration machine. We have supplements that pull metals, pull chemicals, go after pathogens. We have a whole program for pathogens. When you get on the vibration machine, I call it like the agitator in a washing machine. You put the soap in the washing machine, you don't just walk away, shut the lid. You come back, you'd have filthy water, which is your filthy blood. If you engage the agitator, the pump, now you wash the clothes. It's similar with the body. Once you effectively pump all these good healing supplements that absorb toxins, knock out pathogens, et cetera, the vibration machine is like the agitator in a washing machine. We also talk about a rebounder being a cellular pump system. So the Brown's gas will assist in this massive detoxification process, but let's make no bones about it. If you're very toxic, you need to have an intelligent detox program. We teach that. Then we teach you trauma. Trauma is a huge piece, how to process and bring up trauma memory loops, which are very somatic, very buried in the body, very hard to access. And you have to do it in a very creative, visceral, non-thinking way. So the more you're thinking, that reflects the more trauma you have. You cannot outthink your trauma. No. It's an organic, natural, beautiful process. And that's why I do, by the way, love, that's where we came together. Vibration therapy has so many dimensions to it. In fact, on my list of essential therapies, it's number one, because I'm a body worker and I know what one can do for themselves if they learn We teach about a 15-minute protocol where you treat your lymph, your organs, your fascia, your meridians, and then you're doing detox on top of that organically. And you're doing trauma work by just trembling. Trembling is a natural trauma mechanism that animals do to release free state trauma. So I look for essential therapies that are whole dynamic. And then, yes, if you have some of those key therapies understood and the key actions that you need to take, and you start to integrate, this is one of the most essential therapies, because at some point it's hard to repair at the microcellular level.
Yes.
And I learned that, you know, you hit the wall with one therapy, you unfortunately, people are marketing, okay, buy this and it'll do everything, and you know, you got it. So now you hit the wall with one therapy, and then you try to go on to the next panacea therapy. If someone's marketing it to you, you hit the wall with that, rather than integrate the tools and understand, okay, a hammer isn't a screwdriver.
Yes.
I mean, if you're a carpenter, you have common sense, but we lose it when it comes to our own health and well-being.
It's interesting you raise that point. You know, many of the conditions that I deal with, as you know, not only is a vibration machine a foreign concept to most people, let alone Brown's gas, but many of the conditions themselves that I deal with are not on the map, even though they're less than common. Let's put it that way. And it does become, you know, trauma in itself when you know, don't have a diet. You know, we live in this world where we have to have a label, you know, but even if you did have the label, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be put on the right path for healing. So, you know, the constant disappointment, you know, doors being slammed in your face, bullying in some cases, you know, it's adding to the trauma, which is why many of us are where we are in the first place. So, you know, can you share, you know, I know you've been playing with this longer than I have, but, you know, what are some of your own personal experiences in using this, you personally or with clients?
Well, it's funny because in the holistic field, unfortunately, I find some really good therapy sometimes, but they're in the hands of people that are unscrupulous. And I'm not going to name names here, but unfortunately, the Brown's gas market was on terms of teaching in the marketplace was being dominated by one person. Okay. Ed was in the shadows. Thank God I found him. But I essentially was doing the therapy in the wrong manner when I first started, and still it was helpful because I was not doing a high enough dose.
Okay.
And this person tries to scare people and tell them if you don't turn it down, it's dangerous, and it's just a lie.
I deal with that in the vibration machines as well.
Right. So if you're, you know, I always use this analogy in healing. If you go up 90% of the hill and you're almost to the summit, and then you just roll down, too bad. It doesn't matter. But if you get to the summit and get over the hump, wow. Yeah. So unfortunately, people don't understand. Number one, within each therapy, you need to learn what I call therapeutic threshold. What is it going to take? And then, of course, if you're synergizing with other tools and you understand what is needed. And in the gas therapy, I just ran across a Dr. Ross who was recovered from cancer, near-death cancer, 3 times himself. And here's the message. If you're sick and dying, you need to crank the hell out of the ozone. More gas is what's needed, and it's the same thing with this gas.
Yes.
The more chronic you are, you need, in Asia, there are hospitals where they literally run this 24/7. You need, as Ed said, that guy was near dead, ran it all night long, came back. I've seen that, by the way. My dog was near dead. It was another therapy I used on her 24/7, brought her back to life. She was on death's door. So in any therapy, you need to know how much, how long, and then with what other therapy. If you're really skilled, you're lucky. So in this case, more gas. You can't go wrong with more gas because you'll slough off the excess. But that's the research is going towards more gas. The cancer research, for instance, these machines are very expensive, but they're cranking out 3 liters a minute. And we suggest that anybody who's really chronically challenged by 2 of our machines, and you can tether them together to get 2.3 liters per minute. Okay. So that's key. Once I started doing that, which wasn't that long ago, based on Ed's recommendations and my own common sense, once I realized this is safe, there's no problem, I saw a tremendous amount of recovery in a short period of time, getting to the proper therapeutic threshold.
Okay.
So in a way, I've been reborn into the proper Brown's gas therapeutic world, and now I'm doing it properly. So I am teaching this henceforth. You can't, like Ed said, you can't go wrong with more gas. It's about money and cost, unfortunately. This is right now, we give you a lot of gas for affordable price. And now just put the time in during the day and then watch the progress.
Okay.
Now, as we said, if you have underlying, if you are mindful, oh, wait a minute. I, for instance, you deal with a lot of women, and I want to put this out there. There's a teacher named Isabella Wentz. Many women I talk to have thyroid issues, and they go to the regular doctors and they get misdiagnosed. That's her teaching. Women going to doctors and being put on psych meds rather than being diagnosed with thyroid, hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, or just generic hypothyroid. So on your thyroid, but I try to get an assessment with each person. If you have weight issues, please find a holistic natural doctor. We can help you, or you can go out of pocket for less than $100 and do some simple thyroid lab work. That can make a huge difference right there. If you're toxic, learn some common sense, good health, solid programs for detoxification. But if you could get properly assessed, then you can put this program together, which this gas is going to support all that other process.
Okay.
But for me, for instance, I did everything for the thyroid thinking I could do it holistically. And guess what? I either it was genetic or environmental. I eventually had to go on some low dose thyroid hormone medication.
Okay.
And it helped a lot. So, I know you deal with people with lipidemia. My heart goes out to women because, again, Isabella Wentz is worth looking at because many people don't understand or get proper guidance around thyroid issues. Do you run across that a lot?
Yes, absolutely. And maybe I'll look up a link for her information, and we'll put that in the comments as well.
Right. I have a video. I can send you a link. It's basically the Misdiagnosis Machine, and it's about women being told they're crazy, nuts, they eat too much. I mean, they get shamed, and it's just, and unfortunately, and this is another issue. I mean, I'm happy to do a kind of try to help people directionally if they're searching and struggling. You can self-empower yourself with your own blood work. You don't have to rely on a doctor. And sometimes that is an important step if you know what you're looking for.
Yep.
So
part of the discovery process.
But if you think you're eating too much, you're eating too much. I mean, I lost 20 pounds like that. And by the way, I was playing 5 hours of tennis a day and never lost a nickel of weight. And and with no exercise, I lost weight. So thyroid is a huge piece.
Yeah.
To assess your gut toxicity, to simply assess your microbiome in your gut, there are some lab tests, but there are some simple checklists that one can do to assess their colon integrity. And then we like to help people with that.
Okay.
The Brown's gas, once again, if the cells have gotten so damaged, we're talking people with Parkinson's, MS, major health issues, it can dig in deep into the cell and help, not overnight, but start moving the needle towards repair.
Yeah. There's certainly no, once you start applying the gas, there's certainly no regression or worsening of the condition itself, outside
like you say,
fatigue and some of the things we talked about.
The regression is, it might say, and I know this personally, when everything says more, go, especially if you're running off your 20-year-old mind, and everything in your being is saying rest, don't go to work, stay home, read a book, chill. Now, if you can't do it, you can't do it, but this is actually where God's grace, intelligence is trying to take you. But unfortunately for some, it's like, you don't have to exasperate if you're under the gun, Try to be at peace, breathe the gas, rest when you can, take mini naps, even a 10-minute nap effectively. We can also teach you protocols to relax your nervous system. If you know that 10-minute nap can be so restorative. So you can literally go deep down under for 10 minutes and heal. And we can teach you some protocols for just letting go. If you then can let go for another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes, your life will change.
Yeah.
But the mind drives your belief that, you know, this is the only way to live. And if you actually can, and this is true for any one of us, if you can find that peace, real peace, you will attract that from the outside. You will gravitate and make that your life. I really believe that.
And you've been witness not just in your own personal life, but many of your clients can attest to that too.
Right. You know, those who buy into peace, and this is, look, I wish I was had a PhD in peace, but I grew up like everyone else being sold a bag of beans. And the reason we perpetuate violence is because we believe it's the only way. So of course, then becomes the, how do you create peace in your, you know, you start deeply within and you do these heal, you know, Brown's gas will make you feel peaceful. Your mother.
Yeah.
Did she think being tired was good or bad?
Neither, really. It was just, you know, she deals with diabetes, so you know that's not an uncommon thing. You know, sometimes a little dizziness. Is it related to the blood sugar or not? But you know, I you know that it is okay to rest. You know, your body is trying to tell you something, and that's not uncommon with any new therapy. You know, your body puts the healing to work when you're at rest. So, you know, like you said earlier, you know, I'm terrible for, you know, getting my 8 hours a day, but, you know, when I do fall asleep, World War III could be going off and I don't, I'm deep. So, you know, your body, it doesn't mean sometimes I think when we feel tired, again, like other triggers, we associate there's something wrong, whereas actually, you know, it's just something you need. At the time.
Many of us are hypervigilant, and yeah, we think we have to keep going.
For you, certainly in today's world, you know, a lot of the things that I use and many of you watching today are not conventional and in the newspaper and on TV every week. So this is for me, not maybe a missing piece, but it's kind of I always talk about combining technologies and complementing and how the synergistic effects can give you, especially if you are busy, more benefit in less time. To me, this is the ultimate complement, whether it's vibration machines, whether it's light therapy, whatever your modality is now, this is just going to not only better enhance the effects of that because your body is more receptive to the benefits.
I do try to create a simplified view. But in terms of, I have a whole like list of what I call deep dive cellular therapies. And then categorically is like, what are the essential issues one needs to look at? Now, labels really are absurd. So let's say, let's take the word autoimmune. If you might ask the question, what's triggering my immune system going wacky and why inflammation? Yep. Start there. Well, you know, if all of a sudden you're walking down the street and someone comes and attacks you, you might ask, well, what's going on? Okay, you could put the label there. Crazy. What happens if you look deeper? So in the body, you know, I would definitely say that I would identify two major issues that cause the immune system to go haywire. The failure of the gut immune system to work, and then the secondary immune system is overtaxed and it never succeeds. Yeah. So the primary immune system is failing. Number two, the mind, trauma. You're not resolving. You're not essentially you're thinking thoughts and doing behaviors that go against who you really are.
Yes.
Now, that is that fascinates me the most, that study. That's where most of my, let's say, deeper meditations go. But okay. Yes, the body, that's, again, I'm going to go back and say Brown's gas promotes a sense of peace. It is truly, when you do it, you feel more peaceful and you can relax.
Okay.
But you need to support that with proper
Everything.
spiritual work, consciousness work.
Okay.
And in that realm, there's so many teachers. The problem in the healing world is you got people are obviously toxic, they're a mess. And then somebody says it's all spiritual and you have to just, just do this spiritual work. I've met people like that. They follow, like one lady I remember was really into Eckhart Tolle, and you got to be present, you got to be aware, but she was such a physical mess. So and he called it the pain body. And I'm like, yeah, your pain body's for real.
Yeah.
And then there is something you can do. The body is a communication system. It isn't just this, so, that's your choice. If you don't want to deal with, how do I say, being responsive to your own body. I think just discarding it, and, which some systems of spirituality do, is just not a very spiritual thing to do.
No.
So it gets quite fascinating, the different things, we hear and see so many teachings like this, so many teachings on trauma, like around the vagus nerve, which is, very fast. I'm a body worker. I would always see that if you work on somebody, you're trying to get the body to now go deeper and let go and process. That's quite a magical thing, and make that a regular practice, because the body's been in a traumatic state for most of us for a very long time.
And a lot of times, you just, how do I put this? We're masking the problem and coping versus healing. So
Right.
sometimes,
Amen.
I don't want to use the word Band-Aid, that doesn't quite describe it, but they're and when you heal, one thing I talk a lot about, we look at when our body is sick, or as you're going through detoxification, there's you might break out in pimples, it manifests differently in everyone, but sometimes we look at the sickness as the culprit, but in all honesty, that's a process the body goes through and needs to go through to get better. So it's not the pus coming out of your thumb. It's, that's part of how your body heals and repairs. The pus itself isn't the sickness. It's, the sliver that you put in there and didn't realize was there. Your body's amazing. And, sometimes that manifests on an emotional level. And I think that's a lot of what we're, emotionally, we might think we're stressed out, but there are biological harmful effects on the body. And, everybody says chill, meditate, but I don't know that many of us are actually very good at, it's like working out on the machine. The best way to get the results is it's a consistent, you don't just go to some meditation retreat for a week and everything's wonderful. It's changing lifestyles and slowly incorporating these positive habits, which aren't necessarily a huge, exercising is harder than shutting your mind off a couple of times. It's a physical thing, but you do need to dedicate time to yourself regularly. That's part of the bigger self-care is being aware, right?
And by the way, yes, I will give one simple tip, pragmatic.
Okay.
You're in the vibration machine. Well, this is where I use various massage guns, and this is for self therapy. If I'm treating you, I actually use them also, but the key is, when I would treat somebody, I would have to get inside first. In other words, access. The body would then start to communicate deeply, and then it would literally trigger, okay, go here, go there, go here. Now, it was ultimately, like I say, a lot of trauma. The body would instruct me where to go. So if you can listen to your body. Now, the massage tool, whether it be, I use a Theragun or a rapid release. Let's say you're standing on the vibration machine and your lower back starts speaking. Treat it. Now, after you treat your lower back, let's say it comes up here. Go up here. I could name all the points and the meridians, but it's like you ring one string, another string rings, and it's going to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
And if you just follow the breadcrumbs. Now, deeper than that, at some point, I'd have deja vu memories. Now, this is a type of work, by the way, this is a trauma release work where you could go on for the rest of your life. You do it for 45 minutes, a half hour, whatever, it'll go on endlessly. what you reveal, it's like your body is, you're doing a life review of a sort. Like, you know, they say you die and have a life review. Well, you can do it before you die. So if you start just paying attention and listening, that's all you really need to do, because
Don't fear it. Don't assume it's something's wrong.
Right. You're essentially, your body's self-revealing and unfolding and unlayering organically. Now, as we are all going to die. So you might think, well, guess what? Letting go is one of the most important things we all need to learn to do. So you have to first listen and then give yourself permission. Now, some people are brilliant. It should, you know, I want to know that brilliant person that lets go of everything just like that. Most of us, letting go isn't that easy because we identify with the toxic content. And that's unfortunate, but true.
We have an attachment to it.
Yeah, I mean, we're told we have to be good soldiers. So the vibration machine is an opportunity to listen, to shake off, to release, and those massage tools. I mean, if you ever want to do a kind of quick teaching about the 15-minute protocol, there's a strategic strategy. Essentially, you can do your organs, your lymphatic system, your meridians, even all your fascia, connective tissue. So that I learned all this in body work, and the body. But the key is that once, even whether you're on the table or you're doing it with yourself, there's a point where you introduce yourself to the body, and the body says, "Oh, you got in." Now it will communicate back. And if you know how to do this communication with your own self-intimacy, essentially, wow.
It's like the saying, it's about being a good listener. Yeah, very much. Very cool. And of course, the Brown's gas would make you a better listener too, for some reason.
Well, Brown's gas is simply the blessing of grace. It is the primordial element that was assigned universally. And when you do it, it's gracious. It's simple. I call it mana.
Mana.
Yes, it's like, you know, mana is like the miracle of this was sent down to feed people. Brown's gas is a primordial, unconditional gift to help you heal. If you can, it can support that letting. It will make you relax, like your mom is wanting to rest.
Yep.
I am now. Last night I slept. I'm sleeping better and better and better doing this high dose. I sleep with this.
And you personally had to go to 2 machines recently, I understand. Did you not?
My wife has a machine which I sometimes borrow because I can't get it out of her hands, which it was supposed to be. You use it, then I can borrow it and tether. I was going to experiment with 2. To
increase volume.
Right. To literally stronger push. So if you're doing 2 machines, and let's say you're really compromised, do 2-3 hours with 2 machines, take a little break, do another 2 or 3 hours in the day. If you can sleep with 2 machines, fine. If it's too much, knock it back to 1 machine. As Ed said, you could become all of a sudden supercharged, then take a break, use common sense. But the 2, my recommendations therapeutically are, if you're very chronically challenged, can afford it, you buy 2 of the machines, you tether them together and do 2 or 3 hour increments, take a break, do another 2 or 3 hours. If you do 1 machine, it's good for most people. You're just going to have to do more time.
Yes, understand.
So sometimes you got to come with an X amount of force to break something, and that's 2 machines. Just it has that incredible deep push.
Yep.
Sometimes slow and steady.
Yeah.
You know, a reasonable amount of force. So it's about affordability. 2 machines, yes. Chronic challenge, you can afford it, buy it. Okay, we're going to just quickly just show you the BG60. There's a lot of information here. This is our Bluesy Water site, by the way. These are essential nutrients and technologies, mostly for detoxification. That's our big theme. One practitioner called me the king of detox. But I definitely have been studying it a long time. So this is, when you go into the BG60 here, we have all our information. So first of all, we have our brief description. There's an interview with Ed. 1-hour interview, very good interview. You can learn a lot about the therapy. And then if you want to learn more about me as a practitioner, you click here. And okay, this was what a description, what you get with a machine. We give a background on oxidative stress. This leads to a blog. See the research. And this is a research blog with a lot of different issues.
Perfect. Perfect.
Then
I'll
we go,
provide a link to your site as well. For
right, so
folks who can go check this out.
there's a direct link here if you go click on the item. And then, so we try to put all this, you go to one place, you see all the information, educational. Now, here are 4 videos, how to set it up, how to use it on a daily basis. And when you go to clean it, how to clean it. And then we recommend a deep clean, particularly for heavy duty use once a month. And then how to install the tower. This is just a short video on.
Okay.
We used to sell the machine without the tower. We only recommend the tower. You're able to use it for longer periods of time with the tower. And
I've been using mine with the tower from day one with no issues.
right. So we don't even sell it with that. The tower just makes it work better. So my contact info is
Perfect.
somewhere here. This is Meet the Practitioner. And while we're here, just real quick, this is my practitioner site.
Okay.
And this gives my background. Again, I've been doing this for many, many years. I have so many different dimensions of my healing. And by the way, let's just go back to here, Blue Z Water. If you go to videos and you go to all playlists, you can see the scope of my work.
Perfect.
We advocate many high-end technologies, how to integrate them. And we have PMF therapy. We have this whole detox antimicrobial program.
Hydrogen there. Yeah.
Protocols for the brain. We have protocols for the lungs, protocols for body work, whole trauma playlist. Here's the hydrogen playlist. We try to start, let me stop the share here. In general, we try to make this simple, even though it might seem overly complex, especially if you get away from the labels and you start to identify fundamental things you need to work on and then have strategically good programs, you can make headway. But if you don't identify the key issues and you overlook them, that's a problem. So wisdom and awareness, and this is where people who study holistic medicine, evolve their understanding. And, it's just like surveying the field, which is you. So it's partially the mind, it's the environment you're in, the body, your particular genetics. It's very, very fat. You'll always stay busy. It's quite the chess game.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Okay. Well, that's fascinating. I'm sure there's probably a couple of other chats we could maybe host down the road and get into this.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for getting Ed on the phone. That was great.
All righty. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.